I don't mean to interrupt you, but this meeting is being recorded. Oh.
Yeah, so what I did was I stopped it and then I hit the record to the cloud again. So this is the start of part 3 of the Daisy Thon. It is November 19th, 2022, and here in the Northeast, it is just about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Chris, I need a calculator to figure out what time it is for you, but I would guess to say it's about 9:30 or 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm getting a little better already. I'm not as time zone challenged as I thought. And Tanya, what time is it where you are?
It's almost 5 o'clock. It's Central.
Oh, you are. Okay. By the way, I did fail that class, geography, and getting a little better.
I think Phil had something he was wanting to ask or say earlier.
No, I was just I was asking Tanya where she was. She's in Mexico, she said. Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Mexico City.
Yeah.
Daisy,
Gotcha.
as you move forward, and as each of you move forward with MSA, and I'm going to come to each one of you, what do you think is one thing that you would like to share with our viewers and listeners that has brought you so much joy?
Just the time that I get to spend with each child that I have now. I enjoy, and I take it for granted anymore. You know, I enjoy those moments. I don't get to see my son very often because he is in the military, but I just found out a couple weeks ago that he's getting stationed an hour and a half from me finally after a year. So I'm very thrilled about that. So I've seen him maybe twice. Yes, it is wonderful. I have seen him probably 2 times in 2 years.
Oh.
Out of the whole 8 years he's been in the military, I've probably seen him about 5 times, so not very often. He's been in Alaska and Dubai and Nebraska, and now he's coming not to Texas but to Louisiana, but only an hour and a half from me, so I'm thrilled about that. But yeah, I'd say it would be spending time with family. And then, like Tanya mentioned earlier, I got letters that I've been writing to my children. I still add to it, you know, every now and then. But I've done advanced directive. I've talked about donating my brain. I've talked about cremation. I've even got as far as got my own celebration of life planned out so that they don't have to have that on their shoulders, you know. That will be taken care of.
And thank you so much for sharing that. And you've shared before too that has a lot of meaning for you, because you don't want your loved ones to be in that position where they're not only dealing with your passing, but just the preparation part of it. And I would gather to say, you know, it's maybe never a comfortable conversation to have. So thank you for doing that for your family. And I know that brings you some comfort as well, for sure.
It really does, to know that they don't have to go through that stress. And I've told them, I don't want you to, I know you're going to be sad, but I don't want you to be stressed as well. I want you to not mourn me as I'm gone, but mourn me that you're celebrating my life that I had, and that my life that's moving forward.
Beautifully said. Wow. Thank you. Chris, what is something that you would like to share?
My grandson,
Oh,
Yes.
how old's your grandson?
3 on Friday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh,
He's beautiful. He's given me reason to live.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing. And you know, out of the mouths of babes and having that
Yeah,
connection with
we FaceTime a lot because he's in a different state, but we FaceTime a lot, so that's really good. He knows who Nanny is.
oh, that is so sweet. Well, tell her that we said happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, Tanya, you're up.
Um, so something I'm grateful about,
Whatever you want to share with us.
whatever I want to share. Well, something I wanted to share, I have been thinking about something important that I found out is that sometimes when you're sick, you feel like a burden. You know, you feel like you're a burden and you're a problem for your family, you're a problem for, I don't know, and that's an awful feeling sometimes. But I've learned that we are all interdependent, you know. We always need someone else, even if we eat something, we eat fruit or something, somebody had to grow that fruit somewhere. So I think it's important that we help our caregivers get breaks, and that we take what they give us with a smile and being grateful for what they give us, and not get angry at them when they are unable to give us what we'd like. But we really have to be specific about our needs, but because they can't always guess what we need, so we have to talk, and that can sometimes be hard.
Especially when we don't know what we need or want to.
Yes, well, then that's even harder. But when we get to find something, we have to talk about it and understand that we're not a burden. We are part of the system, and it's part of life. Everybody is going to be somebody else's responsibility at some time in their life. And it's nothing shameful, and it's not something that we should be uncomfortable about. We have to be thankful that there's people there that can help us. And well, sometimes when I can't feel all of the things I have just said, sometimes when we are in a position to help, it's a way of giving back, because it's not only about doing physical work. Sometimes, even when you are sick, there's something you can give back. And because our minds are there, we can write a book, we can comfort someone, we can understand things other people can't. So that's a treasure that we can cherish, and that we can feel other people, we can help other people feel understood and loved. And that's a privilege.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope you will also keep us posted on when, and I was just thinking of your book again, when it's been translated to English, because my Spanish is not too good.
Yeah. Well,
Hola, that's about it.
well, I'm going to be working on that. That's going to be a next project.
That's awesome. Phil, I've got a question for you. in listening to Daisy and to Chris and to Tanya share their stories, and really pour their hearts and souls into this, is there any, are there any coaches or life coaches that work, that you know of, that work specifically with MSA patients or their caregivers?
Life coaches, you mean people that are,
People that
well,
may
I would say,
fill a void for either the patient or for the caregiver?
yeah, nobody comes to mind as a specific, but I tell you what, spiritual reading is important. One of the most valuable authors that I read is Khalil Gibran. You may have heard of him. He was a Lebanese poet, and he did spiritual writing. Also, the Sufis. Sufism is a mystical type of Islam, but there's also, lots of Christian spiritual writers that I've read. Saint Teresa Avila, John of the Cross, and some wonderful spiritual writers. Nobody as a person, as a living person, comes to mind, but definitely I've read a lot of spiritual writers. When I was a caregiver for my brother, what I did often was pray for the power to persevere. The 3 P's: pray to the for the power to persevere, and that got me through many hard days. I remember going out and basically screaming at traffic because it was a highly stressed environment. However, I prayed for the power to persevere, and I persevered through it all.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. Pray for the power to persevere. Daisy.
And I'd like to say that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Talking about caregivers, them trying to express what we need or what we want. There's times when I don't know what that might be, and you get upset, you get mad, and you take that out on them. And because they're the only person there, and I know what Tanya said, don't get angry or upset with them, but sometimes it's kind of not to. We know inside that it's not their fault. When you're so mad, your life's been taken away from you, so to speak.
Mad at the universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's been times that even I've been mad at God. Why are you doing this to me? What do I deserve to have to go through this? But then I know God doesn't make you have a disease or whatever. You're not cursed by it. It's just something that happens, and there's a reason for everything. And that is for us to create awareness.
Right. To create this awareness for MSA. And, as I mentioned before, I never heard of MSA until I met you, Daisy. And, Chris and Tanya, who also have this disease. I think when we find ourselves in this place and in this time, I never thought that I would be here, in the sense of this is my 3rd podcast, and I think many people know this story, and I share this story with great respect for what my son has been through, and I'm not going into that story, but I'm looking back at what transpired with my son, and starting stories that inspired us was an avenue for me to connect with and share other people's story in such a way that honored their journeys. So what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout way is God directs us in ways that we can't even imagine. I mean, I would have never imagined what my son went through and what I went through as his mom, as he navigates, the PTE with the TBI. That did happen though, and I have respect for that, but that's why I'm here today. I wouldn't be here today is what I'm trying to say, had that not happened. That's, as a mom, that's hard to say, but again, I say it with great respect for everyone that has been through a tragic situation. We try to find the good, and today we are all here to share your stories and to really collaborate in such a way that we are able to share and with the MSA awareness that is just so important to me. Wow.
We're grateful.
I'm grateful that you're here, Chris.
Thank you.
And are you still eating those she's still eating those chocolates. She took herself off camera a few times. The sneaky one.
Well, I must confess that I ate a couple chocolates, Tim Tams, while I was on. I took myself off camera, and I had to dip into the Tim Tams again.
So
I'm surprised I haven't gotten into my jelly beans yet, because that's usually my first snack of the day. Is jelly.
Tiffany, I wouldn't have thought of you as a jelly bean person for some reason.
The gourmets, just the gourmets. I love the Jelly Belly gourmets.
Wow.
Phil, they'll all be looking for Tin Tams now.
Yeah.
Well, we now know that Phil has several connections in Australia to get these Tim Tams. So
I have a whole big case, a huge case. Olivia went out to the store and cleared it out.
I've met Olivia.
Huh?
I've met Olivia. I've met her.
Yeah, you
She's
met her?
a nice lady, yeah.
Yeah, she's in
nice
Melbourne.
Lady. Yeah.
Melbourne, as they call it in Australia. Yeah, nice lady.
Wow. Go ahead, Tanya.
I wanted to talk about resources that, every country has trained grief counselors, and people associate grief with death, but that's not necessarily the case. So if you are going through a period of coping with a physical illness or the physical illness of a disability of a loved one, you can always search for a grief counselor. And now more than ever, that we can get that after the COVID pandemic, we've learned that we can bond even through the screen. So you can look someplace, and there are schools where you study specifically for to be a grief counselor of chronic or terminal illness. So that's a good place to look. Now there's one app that's called Meetup, and you can download the app, and it's in every country, and you can create your meetings. And I don't know, it's like if you want to learn how to dance salsa, right? And you create your meeting, you set a place and a time, and whoever shows up can do it. So if you want to form a group of people that are dealing with things that have to do with the brain, like TBIs or MSA or Parkinson or whatever, you can set a meeting at this app, Meetup, and then people can get together. So we don't have to search, like knock on every house. We just put it in the app, and the app does that for us. And as for books, I would also recommend everything by Viktor Frankl, that because what we need is to find meaning in our experience, and his books are all about searching for meaning. and the meaning is different for each one of us, but those books are great guides for us to want to look for what works for us as a meaning. And then there's another book called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the author right now, but that's the name. When bad things happen to good people, because that's a question. Like, I mean, I'm not a saint, but I'm not, but I'm an average person. Like, why would this happen to me? Or why would this happen to my brother? Or why would this happen to my son or whatever? If he's like a nice guy and she's a nice girl, why would this happen to us? And this book goes inside that, all of those things that you question and that you need answers for. And I found it very comforting.
And
The book is by, I was just going to say, the book is by Harold Kushner.
Yeah, right.
And
Oh,
I would also recommend I would reiterate the Viktor Frankl, Frankl. Viktor, he was a Holocaust survivor, and he was a psychologist, I believe, right?
Psychiatrist.
He wrote Man's Search for Meaning is the most famous of his works. He's another good spiritual writer, I would say, along with the other. I would also reiterate
Harold, what was
Tanya's.
his last name?
Which one?
Harold.
Kushner.
Kushner.
Yeah. Kushner, I believe.
Wow.
I would write that down if I could.
Well, you'll have to listen to the replay. We will make sure that you get that information for sure. Tanya, thank you for, I never even thought of, somebody who may be going, as you said, through a chronic or terminal illness, that a grief counselor would help with that. And I think that though that is huge, that's so vitally important. So thank you for sharing that, because it, obviously it doesn't have to be specific to MSA, but anybody who may be going through a chronic or terminal illness. So thank you for sharing that. I want to chat a little bit about palliative care, because it has come up a lot in conversation today. And Tanya, I want to start with you for just a moment. Because as you had mentioned, palliative care, sometimes when we hear that, we think, oh, that's it, we're on our way out. And it's exactly what it means as far as palliative. It's to help you navigate through the pain, to help you deal with the emotions and everything that is associated with that. Can you explain from your point of view how that has not only helped you, but perhaps has also helped your family?
Well, when you're told that you have an illness and that is going to kill you in a short term and in an uncertain way, and it's all a mystery, and you have to, and how can you cope with that? How can you deal with that amount of uncertainty? And then you feel like your life is going to be awful and everything is going to be uncomfortable and nasty from today on, So palliative care is more about how to get on with living more than how to begin dying. It's a big difference, because when you start thinking about dying, it's never a nice thing to think about. I mean, eventually all of us will die. But more than that, we have to think about how we're going to live and what's important for us and what kind of quality of life would we like to have. And it's really sad that people only look for palliative care or grief counselors when they're at the very end of their lives. When it can be when it can have an impact, an unimaginable impact on your quality of life, so you can keep on living. Things, for example, I don't know, oxygen. For me, oxygen is a big deal because I have to take it everywhere. But I'm an outdoors person, and when you think about yourself having to stay in bed all day with an oxygen tank right next to yourself, well, how are you going to be outdoors? So that's how am I going to live with that? But when you speak to palliative care and when you speak to counselors and they say, well, why don't you look up what options there are? Or they tell you, you can rent or get a portable oxygen concentrator, and then you can get a backpack. And then you can ask a friend to ride you up the mountain as high as they can, as long as it's safe because of the height of the mountain. And then you can go camping, right? So then there you are by the campfire. I mean, a little bit away because it's never a good thing to mix oxygen with fire, but it's about, you have to learn about those things, but it helps you keep your life fun and exciting and normal and as pain-free as possible. And you have to choose because, as we said, we get frequent UTIs, urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say, oh, but I love to go snorkeling. I just love to, but I know that if I get into the water, I'm going to get a UTI. And sometimes you have to choose. Sometimes you say, oh no, I'm not going into the water. I'm not going snorkeling because I don't want to get it. And sometimes you say, oh, who cares? I'll just go have a good time and have fun, because what's the point of being alive? I mean, breathing, sort of, if you're not enjoying it. So
how long have you been on palliative care?
Well, it's been on and off, but it's for 8 years. Because they say that MSA it has an expected lifetime of 7 to 8 years until your death. And well, I take things literally, so I was like counting like 10, 9, 8, and it just doesn't happen like that. So I got ready to die, and oops, not happening, at least not today. So I had to go a bit longer. And that's another thing. People think that when you go into palliative care, you never leave. But if you go there and you don't pass on, then you can leave for a while until you meet the criteria once again, and then you go in again and they treat you. And that's how it goes. It's not like, oh no, you said you're going to die in 6 months. Now you have to keep your promise. It's not that way, because life is not like that, thankfully. But palliative care and grief counseling and all of this is more about how to keep on living than how to get on with dying.
I was asking because I just started palliative care.
Well,
what, 3 weeks ago? Yes.
Well, I said like 8 years.
Years on.
So it's so. I mean, nobody can really tell.
Right. When did you feel that you needed the palliative care? Was it clear to you?
It took me some time, but because I have this background, because I worked at a hospital and had this experience already with my patients, I saw the signs, and I had trouble with my quality of life. I was not enjoying my life, and I knew there was a better way. I knew there were better ways to deal with pain. The big issues for me are pain and infections. And I knew that if I stayed on top of the pain and of top of the infections, then I would live a better life. It doesn't matter how long it would be, but I would have a life worth living and not just waiting to die, which is a big difference. So for me, the markers were the pain and the infections. Because as Philip said, you can't cure MSA. I said about the mouse. You can't kill the mouse, and you can't put the mouse to sleep, and you can't control that. That's not in your control. But there's a lot of things that you can control, and one of those is pain. And you can treat your infections in a timely manner so they don't get too complicated, and and your body is just too tired to keep up with everything.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think for a patient to contribute to their palliative care, to knowing when they need it and how, obviously would be very different for anyone, I would think, obviously, for different reasons. So thank you so much for really sharing your story. I mean, you are all blowing me away with your stories of courage to keep on living and not letting MSA define you. You are defining it. So thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing that, and to all of you. Chris, are you on palliative care, or have you been on palliative?
I have been since the beginning, just to keep in touch with them. They're happy to let the doctors take charge for now, but eventually I'll need them more, but they just keep in touch with me now. So that's been good. They have access to other drugs as well. So they've given me painkillers, and I just keep in touch with them.
That's awesome. And you mentioned you have an awesome medical team, and that's really important.
I have an amazing team around me. But I went to the hospital as well, so it was a bit less frightening. And they explained that palliative care is just incurable, not death. So that made me feel a lot better.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Daisy, as you had mentioned, you recently started palliative care. How are you doing with transitioning with being in palliative care? Because you had mentioned to me that, of course, you're seeing a few different people and the therapists that come in, that sort of thing.
It's good that they keep it into a circle, that they stay in communication with your doctor and your specialist. And now I'm going to see a urologist next. So my doctor left a message on my phone actually yesterday saying make sure that urologist stays in our circle, so it stays in communication. So everybody kind of knows what I'm being treated for and what's going on, and it helps that way. It's like, I guess you have a team, so to speak. And you hear about that. We need a team of doctors that be in communication with each other so we can be treated properly.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something. Palliative care is sort of a broad term. it actually comes from the Latin pallium, which just means cloak, covering pain. And hospice is not palliative care, in my view anyway, and hospice can mean different things to different people. But palliative care could be a broad type of, my understanding anyway, is a broad type of activity to alleviate pain or to lessen it. And perhaps hospice is one program, but it's different for different countries or different states. You don't have to go into hospice. There's a lot of push for hospice in the US. My brother rejected hospice. He did not. We, tried to treat his pain and tried to lessen his, infections cause pain. So when you're preventing or treating an infection, you could be lessening the pain. And that's what we did in his case, but he did not go into hospice. There are some people that just love hospice and think hospice is, great, but it was his choice, and, it's up to each person to make their own decisions. And I would encourage people to make decisions, to instruct your loved ones what you want to do.
For sure.
Yeah, they had hospice came out and visit with me, but said, no, you're not ready for hospice. So just to give them a call now that they've done their initial consultation, they have all the notes that they need, so that when it comes time for that, I can just transition from palliative care to hospice.
And, Phil, thank you for sharing that, Daisy, because that is so important. And Phil, I want to recognize what you said, because we had talked about this earlier, as Daisy was mentioning, she has things planned out and she wanted to do that. And those are very tough conversations to have, of course. But when your loved one is going through that, it's really important to know what their wishes are. We can assume, but it's never, I always say it's never good to assume.
Right. You know what assume means.
Ask out of you and me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I didn't want to say that word. I didn't want to say that word. I was just gonna, motion with my hand instead.
Oh my God.
Well, I was reading your mind, Philip.
Okay, she said it for me.
We got nothing to lose, Daisy. We got nothing to lose.
Daisy and Tanya, do you know what the problem is here right now? I need to point this out. Okay. Do we know what the problem is? Chris and Phil are cahooting, and I'm sure they're sending each other messages back and forth. Oh, how many Tim Tams have you had by now?
Oh, I feel so excluded.
Maybe we can send some Tim Tams to Mexico City.
Oh, yes,
Tanya.
that would be very, very nice.
I'm sure you have something similar down there. You probably have some kind of, you have what do they flan? I can't take flans because they're honey. I think they're made with honey or syrup or something. But I'm sure you have something chocolate that's similar in Mexico.
Oh, yes, we have so much candy. I mean, we're not lacking in that sense. but not Australian Tams. I'd like to try those one day.
I'll get it down to you.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So Phil, back to what we were chatting about having those discussions. Did your brother approach you about having that discussion, or was it kind of a collective discussion, if you will?
Yeah, I would say it was a collective discussion, but it would have been great if we had a firm plan, if we had known his wishes. He lost the ability to talk as often as some people with MSA do. Some don't, though. but in his case, he did. And that's why MSA is so complex, so varied. You can't say that one thing will happen to anyone else with MSA, except that obviously there's some commonalities because it's MSA, but you know, there's a lot of differences too. And with my brother, you know, he did not make his wishes as clear as we had wanted it to be, because you can never talk enough. You know, there's always something that may be missing, you know, but it was, he acquiesced, you know, he communicated we gave him a range of options. His daughter and my mother was living at the time. She was 94 when she died, and he died before her. But, you know, we gave him a range of options, and he decided that he didn't want hospice at that time.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that.
I've written it all down in a book, all my wishes, so it's very clear.
And is it very detailed? I mean, I don't want you to disclose any wishes, but anybody who would pick it up would know exactly what you want, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And someone knows where that book is or where you keep it.
Right by my side
Gotcha.
all the time, because as I think of things, I write them down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's smart. That's really smart.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Wow. As we're starting to near the close of the Daisy Thon, I want to go back to each of you and just kind of touch base with your overall story and what you hope will come about with the Daisy Thon. Obviously, we want to spread the awareness. And Phil, I just want to come back to you for just a moment. Are there any, for those listeners and viewers who are listening, is there a link where they can go to and donate money to the MSA Alliance?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. It's www.defeatmsa.org. So defeat multiple system atrophy, the acronym defeatmsa.org. That's the American charity. However, if you're in another country like Mexico, there is a new charity in Mexico, a new organization. It's under the auspices of, you can get to many of the other charities depending on the country. If you go to msaunited.org, that's the consortium, msaunited.org.
Awesome.
And from there, you can go to different countries depending on which one you want to donate to. Mexico is not listed there yet, but they are a new charity, and they're under the auspices of the Spain charity, which you can, their charity is asyd.es. But if you go to MSA United as the first stop, you can go to any different organization that you want to from there.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know on the page there, because I've been at the page, there's also, remember serves me correctly, a spot where if somebody wanted to donate their time or volunteer.
Yeah.
What does volunteering entail with working with the MSA Alliance?
Well, one thing that we are we have put together our support groups on Zoom for patients and caregivers. We also have Facebook. We have multiple Facebook groups for patients and caregivers, and we're always looking for people trained or, you know, somewhat trained. Even we're not looking to hire, you know, professional counselors, but we do need people that would run, you know, peer support, just getting people to talk to each other. You know, that's facilitators, you might call it.
Right.
Facilitators that could help us facilitate support groups. we definitely need people that are interested in helping in that respect. Of course, fundraising is always, important too. Educating medical professionals. It's another, if anybody's a medical professional and they're interested, either nurse, we had the first, one of our new board members of the American Charity, did the first publication ever done in a U.S. national nurse practitioner journal about MSA. She just published in a national journal a whole comprehensive summary or overview of MSA in a national nurse practitioner journal, which is important. So any medical professionals that are interested in MSA, reach out to us and we'll do our best to, help. And I think volunteering, just helping one another, really helps us. It helps us too. If we help one another, I think that's what we should be doing anyway. But also it helps us. It helps us to help others.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Daisy, Phil just provided some great information. And by the way, Phil, I did register to be a volunteer. I haven't heard anything, so I'm like, oh, nobody wants me, but whatever.
Oh no, we do. It takes,
I know.
We'll get to you. We'll get to you.
Got it. Thank you. You can probably expedite my paperwork, right?
Yeah. I'll press it on, full throttle.
You got it. Thank you so much. Daisy, Phil obviously provided some great information. I can't even read some of my notes because I'm paying attention and I'm writing my notes and I got them all over the place. And I'm excited about the awareness we have shared thus far. What do you think is one thing that you're taking away from the Daisy Thon?
Just that there are more people that we know that really are out there that help and support us. And we want to see that number grow. Of course, it can't get large enough, but it's great to know that there's more support out there than we really know about.
And you know what I think is so amazing? I mean, Phil, 7 years ago, I think was what you said when you lost your brother to MSA, and you really were, as well as your husband, that you started the MSA Alliance, and people all over the world have this disease. And as I had mentioned, I had never heard about MSA. And I just think that is so phenomenal. Like, here we are, in the world, and we have so many people suffering from MSA, and that I've never heard of it. So I think that is phenomenal. So thank you so much, you and your husband, for really doing the groundwork. And you're in 5 different countries now. I mean, that just blows my mind. So thank you so much to both of you and to all your board members.
And it's good to know that we're not alone. There are other patients that, you feel like you're alone, but yet seeing Chris and Tanya here today makes me feel like you're really not alone.
Wow.
That's a good takeaway too. Even though, there's groups on Facebook, we don't physically see these people, so you still just, feel like you're typing,
Mhm.
It's made a difference to me today to physically see others that are dealing with this disorder.
It certainly gives meaning. It gives meaning to the madness, shall we say.
Yeah.
It helps people. We can't right now. We hope to get to a point of slowing the disease someday, but at least we can hold their hand, their virtual hand, and share our experiences with each other.
And
Tanya, I want to commend Tanya for being with us today as she's in the hospital.
I
I
know.
think that's really,
She's a survivor. She's in the hospital and she's coming to us.
yes.
That's good. Thank you.
Survivor and a fighter. And I just want to point out, Tanya, that, I believe it was you, because I'm trying to read through my notes here, where you had mentioned MSA does not affect your intellect.
That's true. And it's true, and sometimes it's scary and sometimes it's relieving, because I don't know, there are many, MSA looks so much like Lewy body dementia, and yet there's a big difference that one includes dementia and the other one doesn't. So inside a body that doesn't look healthy, there's someone who thinks and loves and wants what everybody else wants.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I want to ask if any of you, like I've had some really, and it could be UTI that causes it, because I know that causes you some out of the head moments. But one example was my husband walked in one day and I was putting pieces of my sandwich in my pill box. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know. I guess I just humored it up too. I guess I'm saving some for later. Has anybody else had or dealt with any episodes like that?
I get hallucinations sometimes and see things that aren't there, but I just put it down to UTIs.
Yeah, I know
that's
that
what
they say that UTIs can really, especially with someone who is dealing with a terminal illness, or even with elderly people, it doesn't matter, that it can really just affect your awareness of what you are doing.
Yeah.
Wow. Whew. Daisy, where can people, obviously I know how to get in contact with you. I know all your information. And of course, I will make sure everyone's information is in the show notes. Well, where can people go, for instance, to purchase your book?
Find me on Facebook, Daisy Paige, author, or the Facebook name would be facebook.com, Daisy Paige Unexpected Moments, because the link to that book, Janis, it's very long, but it's awesome, because they do get the most proceeds from going to that link, and still knows I'm donating proceeds from my book to MSA Alliance. So, and my next book that's coming out, I'm doing the same thing, Phil. It should be coming out probably within a couple of months, and I'll be donating some proceeds to MSA as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to reading that one.
Yes. So
and the one after that, maybe, right?
No, I'm gonna be. This one's gonna be. Well, it's gonna be a one and done, but I just kept getting pushed to, hey, you need to write another one. And I started having dreams and visions, so I wanted to write that in the book. And then in the middle, it's Unexpected Moments continues. So I'll pick up where I left off and try to talk about I lost the word. Book tour, virtual book tour that I've been on, and all the podcasts and radio interviews that I've been on. I think that's another great way that I've been trying to create awareness, is by doing all those podcast interviews and such. So I'm at 53 now, I think it is.
Wow. I was just going to ask you how many podcasts you've been on. Wow.
I think it's like 53 now. So I am getting the word out about MSA, if anything. Not many big book sales going on, but I am getting.
Well, I think you're going to have some book sales after the Daisy Thon. That's my prediction for sure. So I have a kind of a funny question for you. Daisy, what is the favorite podcast you've ever been on?
Of course, it's that inspire us.
Stories that inspire us?
Yes, stories that inspire us.
You knew I had to ask that.
Yes, that one, and then of course the next will be Our Daydream. Now there, I met a wonderful girl named Brooke Davis. She's a gospel singer now, and she just had a new album that came out last. As a matter of fact, our Christmas party, and I made a book trailer with her song on there that is on YouTube. It's really neat.
It is a beautiful.
Oh, I said Brooke Davis. I meant Brooke Robinson. I don't know. I had Davis on my brain. My husband just corrected me, thankfully. Brooke Robertson, and she's from Louisiana. So I had first question I had for her is, "Are you kin to the Duck Dynasty family?" But no, she's no kin.
Wow. And we'll have to.
But yeah.
Well, you know what? I wonder if we can play it on here. I would have to find it. But I won't take up.
I'll send it to you real quick on Facebook.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be cool. So, Chris, I saw someone in the background before, and I assume that's somebody very near and dear and close to your heart.
It's my husband.
Oh, tell him that we said hello. What's his name?
Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
He said hi.
Thanks for taking care of Chris for us.
Yeah. And stop giving her those chocolates.
He didn't hear that bit. Oh.
I just want to double check and make sure everything's running properly. We are awesome. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of our amazing listeners that are currently on the Wisdom Audio app. We have a lot of listeners on, more than what I sent to you, Phil, a little while ago. And I see some very familiar names, and really from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you. I was unable to get my little mini iPad up and running. I am not sure how many people are on Facebook right now. So I don't have that figure for me right now, but I will, let people know, of course. I want to say that this has been so very educational for me to learn more about MSA and the different types of MSA and how this disease, I should say this terminal illness, not only affects the patient, but really affects the caregivers and the family as a whole. You are not alone. And I want to also acknowledge Tanya and Chris for taking the time to fill out the guest registration and really be a part of the Daisy Thon.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. You both, as well as Daisy, are near and dear to my heart. And Phil, you're gonna be my adopted little brother, because I am much older than you. So.
Oh yeah, right. We talked about that. You look younger than all of us. You really do. I can't believe it. It must be something in the water there.
Well, I do have my parents to thank for that. And thank you for saying that. That's very sweet of you. I want to recognize each and every one of you. We would not be here today if things had not transpired in our lives. And to be in the space with you, to share your stories in a way that honors your journey, in a way to share more awareness about MSA, which, as we know, is a very rare terminal illness and affects 4 out of 100,000 adults each year, does not discriminate. we need to have more Daisy Thons. Now, obviously, this was our first Daisy Thon. I know there will be many more Daisy Thons. And I just want to share, if you are listening to the replay, or when it's uploaded to iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, wherever you listen to your podcast, if you have a story to share, if you have a mission, if you have a journey and you want to inspire others, please don't hesitate to reach out, because your story needs to be told. I want to commend each and every one of you again for being here today, sharing these 3 hours with me and with our audience. Daisy Paige, my younger little sister, I love you to pieces, and thank you to Eugene, your husband. I know that I will.
I sent you that link on Facebook.
Oh, you did? Okay, I can't look at it right now, but I will again at some point. It won't let me. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a feedback here. But I will make sure, thank you for sending that. I will make sure that gets in the show notes so people can click on that. It's absolutely phenomenal. And by the way, the person, I forgot her name, who did that new like trailer thing for you. If you could send me that one as well, that would be cool. That was beautiful. She did a beautiful job on that. So Daisy, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. I hope we all keep in touch. It's my pleasure to have all of you here. Tanya, you're all amazing. Tanya, thank you so much. You are here representing so many other people, each and every one of you, and you know, you're in the hospital right now, and I just can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your story. And
It's an honor. I feel honored.
Thank you so much. And Phil, you've been a little traveling all over the world. Thank you for all of your hard work. I am honored and I am humbled to be in all of your presence today. My name is Janis, the host of the Daisy Thon. Take a moment and look at all these amazing faces. I'm going to do my sign off on the Wisdom Audio app, and then I'll do my formal sign off. Again, Wisdom, I want to thank each and every one of you that are listening right now. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I will keep you posted on the next Daisy Thon. Again, if you have a story to share, share your story. Someone needs to be inspired. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now. Okay, we're going to do our formal sign off now. You know, as we sign off, I want to just kind of remind everyone, you know, check each and every one of their stories. Purchase Daisy's book. If you do know how to read Spanish, I do not. Tanya, I'm not sure if you sent me the link to your book. Oh, you know what? I think it is in your guest registration, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. I will make sure that, you know, purchase these books. They are amazing. And Chris, I do see a book in your future.
Baby.
Well, maybe it's whatever it is, but you all are so amazing. My name is Janis, the host of the Daisy Thon. Thank you all for being here today. Today, I was inspired by all of these amazing people. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. Leave comments on Facebook where you can, you know, interact with the guests. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you all. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank you very
Phil,
much.
for
Bye-bye.
being
Bye-bye.
a world
Bye.
traveler, and you get some rest. Tanya, I hope you get out